conversation. Aloha.
Aloha world, aloha ohana. Jonah Martin Lyon coming at you live here from Black Rock City. Here, the director of disaster relief for the Pacific for Hope, housing our people everywhere as a sustainable housing initiative, and also working with our arts and cultural perpetuation, not appropriation, but rather how we can come together in diversity, equality, and really share the truth of what's happening on Maui on ground level, and all the other collaborative things that are happening worldwide with this as a catalyst to a massive transformation on a global level. So just super honored to be here once again with y'all live from the playa. We're all safe out here. Everything's good. Um, we've been in full on, like, that aloha spirit live here on playa, and in all the mess and muddy, we're still having good times. Everyone's safe and sound, and would love to just kind of break it open and get a little bit of flow right here. It's great to have the Jedi sister here, Lelania Grace, blessing us with her grace and presence here. And yeah, we're just gonna kind of dialogue and share a little bit as she's on the ground level, been really integral pieces of communicating what's going on a cultural level, on a spiritual level, and it's beautiful to have that voice and really support and want to support. For me, the women and the children, and I get to do that in this moment and now by just being here and knowing them in here to support and share and bring as much love to the who you are as mama and woman and queen bee, and faith and presence. So thanks for being here today. What's new for you on Maui? You're sharing just kind of the transitions and whatnot, and I know you're feeling a lot out there. So what's new?
Aloha, everyone. Yeah, this is Lily and baby Faith. My daughter was born in the midst of all of this unfoldment. Um, as we were addressing, what's happening here. And I guess I would love to speak to just how, you know, this happened on one island, but we are a island chain that is connected, and so this impacts all of the Kanaka Olivi, Kanaka Maoli, like all of the people of this land into our ancestors and our kapuna. Um, and then how that is, this is, I guess the word would be a catalyst, but this is an energetic that is impacting our entire globe, our entire earth. And there's many different thoughts about, what the origin of the situation is, but I think the most important thing is that we address how to move um, reverently and sacredly and forward in this time. What's arising for me personally is, I guess in the beginning I was still pregnant and I was just hands on deck, like doing everything I could to be of service. And I'm now in Hana on the east side of Maui, and a lot of the grief is arising around, what has taken place. And when you have a transition that is so extreme where it kind of feels like a war zone within paradise, that has completely shifted the economic structure of our islands, the tourism industry, just, it's so big. And the hardest part for me is there's not really a lot of mo'olelo or sharing about the transitions of people from just one day living their normal lives to the next day. A lot of keiki have passed on, a lot of kapuna have passed on. And so we have all these different political, discussions going on, and, ways to rebuild and all of these things, which is crucial, right? To have these discussions. But what comes up for me as a mother and, like a makua parent is, there needs to be some ceremony and ritual support for the people who've passed over in such extremity. And that's the one thing that I'm noticing isn't really being talked about so much. So I'm working through a lot of my own personal feelings around that. I know that with each, challenge, there's an opportunity. And what we do see is an incredible amount of people coming together in a lot of love and a lot of reverence for, the grassroots level. Like, so that is really beautiful to see the Aloha spirit coming alive. This is a long term journey. This isn't like, okay, we just, figure this is the direction and then we just go for it. Like, this is very multi layered, and it requires each one of us to be resilient and stay present with the process. And yeah, I'm just a collective feeler, so I'm just kind of feeling all of the things around it and just doing my best to continue to hold the pule and listen to the calls. And there's a lot of discussion right now around, having to bring people together in the way that we did, on the Mauna, on the mountain. And I saw that from the beginning, that it's likely that in order to protect and kind of orchestrate the direction of this, to maintain sanctuary for the people and the Aina and the ancestral desires, prayers that have been put in place, we're going to have to probably sit in place and bring the prayer and bring the hula, and really bring people from other islands, and actually kind of maybe sacrifice our normal way of doing things to, let the bigger powers that be, or whatever they are, know that no, we're not going to just bend over and let them create a smart city or create a this or create whatever they're trying to create. That, it's we need to use this destruction to create a new life, and something more beautiful and more sustainable for our future.
Aho. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. We were very much having a very similar reality here on and conversation just now as well. Last night at the temple burn here, on Playa is, it's a very cathartic ritual ceremony, very sacred. Just, imagine, it's 50,000 people probably at that point, maybe less. It's hard to know because how many people left, but we're all around the fire in complete silence, as we all just be in a space of reverence and remembering, our um, those that have passed on. And, what, and in that, after that silence was broken, and that was the next bit of our conversation there, was around, like, again, what has been lost in this that's not being openly shared, is the loss of life in regards to our children, and our elders. And then also that brought up the other piece that you were just speaking to as well, around how quickly there's this a lot of energy and directive around the rebuilding from a external place, like in, from the commercial development to, real estate developers and all of that coming in, not but days after the actual fire, and already calling families to offer whatever it is they're offering, and it's like we're now in this time of grieving, and it's the energies are heavy, and the integration of what really has taken place is coming in. It's like the adrenaline of the fire itself and all that movement is now settling, and so we're kind of going through the emotional pieces. And so I think this is a big part of what we're doing here on this live stream, is, being more conscientious of what message we're sharing, sharing truth, getting out the story of the people. You know, there's uh, a way that mainstream media has a tendency to, move or direct the message instead of allowing the message to come through of what is actually happening. That way we have free will, to determine and to, take in information and make informed choices and movements. Um, I know that I would love for us to continue to have some of that, like you said, just building the sanctuary, and you and I, where we met. So everyone, Lily and I, we met. We're birthday twins. We were born on the same day, April 22nd. We met on Earth Day, our birthday in celebration at a beautiful sacred Earth temple to be exact, in Blue Mountains, on Maui. And that's a sanctuary. It's a permaculture sanctuary. I think about that as a template and model for us to do some deep healing work. Um, I've always imagined this place as a lot of work around Ho'oponopono and doing some really deep work in that, because in order for us to rebuild with a strong foundation, there needs to be levels of reconciliation and restoration. Restoration of our traditions, our values, our the culture. And celebrate the
Celebrate
diversity,
the diversity
uh, while also
while also
celebrating
celebrating
life.
life.
I'd love to speak to the Ho'oponopono aspect of this a little bit. Within the realm of our indigenous people who are here on Maui, this is definitely being spoke of, that this is requiring each one of our kapunas and our elders, especially those that have specifically been trained in Ho'oponopono, to step up, and a lot of families, within the intercultural journey of many different bloodlines and lineages. We pretty much have a melting pot in Hawaii of everybody. And so this in that way, this has been a catalyst where people are having to come together in a bigger way and put aside their petty stuff or their pilikia. And there's a misconception about Ho'oponopono in the broader world for those that aren't aware of what it is. But it's really getting down to the root of the matter. And I find it interesting that I didn't plan to be live here today, you guys. This just happened by natural order. And I actually dreamt about the tree last night in Lahaina. Um, and um, I'm not going to try to hold back my tears. And I'm not going to try to be on some professional level with the reality of what is, like the grief that is present right now within the people is really big. And you have to understand that Hawaii, we are connected to the Aina. The Aina is us. We are one with the land. And so when things like this happen, it's not just a loss of um, homes and families, but it's a reconciliation with our connection and our relationship to the earth, the mother. And the need for healing and Ho'oponopono is so big right now. And everywhere you look, you can just feel uh, and see on people's faces the energy that's present. And it's like, I'm out here in Hana. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. My kids starting their Olelo classes. And it's it's a lot to reckon with. There's so much aloha, there's so much care, and yet each one of us are really just in this initial stage of, you know, grieving what was and trying to project hope of what can be. And um, yeah, I just feel like whatever way that you pray, whatever way that your heart prays in this world, like pray for the transitions and the changes, that they may be good. And I find it so interesting, Jonah, that here you are, you're in Burning Man, we're in Hawaii. Like a lot of people are bringing heat to Burning Man, how it's like this is no longer sustainable, like vibration, like what's going on here, it's this, that, and the other. And I just want to emphasize, in my understanding of knowing you, that your intention in going there was to shift the paradigm, to actually invite those that have been investing their energy into, spaces for personal development or personal gain, that actually this was a call to them to bring that energy forward in a way that we can reestablish something in the future that's more sustainable, whether it's Earth Gaia, like talking about, doing sustainable agriculture, like planting trees and water based, gatherings where people come together for, consciousness and sustainable directives, or whatever it ends up unfolding. But yeah, I felt the burn last night, even though I wasn't there, and um, it's just a reverent time. It's a time where everything feels very fragile and very tender. And I'm sure more so for me because I just had my baby. But yeah, it's just a time to be really conscious about what we say and do and how we move. And there's a call. There's a call for us all to step up in a deeper understanding of the energy that we're working with on this planet, and to have a deeper relationship to our relationship to all things. And more music, more healing, more prayers, more blessings, more alignment, more strengths, and may we all rearrange the way that we relate to our host, our Mother Earth. And yeah, I had this dream about the tree last night, and she's showing new life. So there's little sprouts coming up from the tree, which is a really good sign. And I put a giant rose quartz in the tree, and rose quartz represents compassion and love. So I think that's just the order of the day. I just gotta try to, hey, pu'uvai, more and more, open the heart, more and more, even when it feels like you like close down.
Wow. Already regenerating. Yeah, the tree, is I feel that. Um, at the burn last night, some of the biggest connections, I would say, coming back to the connection of the islands you were just speaking about, uh, I was able to finally make connection with a brother named Hank Rogers, who's been doing basically regenerative village building on a large scale for a long time. He's a 30 plus year burner, has a lot of codes to add, lives on Big Island. Um, I've had like, in connecting, everyone's like, have you met Hank? Have you got it? You and Hank need to talk. And so we literally met right after the temple burned, and it's just like, that's the kind of um, magic and miracles and, that is happening right now. And so it's continuing to stay in that deep prayer. Uh, you were also sharing around like rose quartz and that representation, and you give me the gift of the rose wrapped in tea, and I planted that. I buried it basically like a seed and planted it inside the man base. Was the calling before it burned, to basically put that prayer up, into the future, and just the replanting, right? We need to replant right now. We need to reforest from the land-based perspective, earth guardians,
Well, just for context, for those who don't understand, I gave Jonah right before I gave birth, when he left, I gave him a shirt that is King Kalakawa's shirt, and it talks about hula being the language of the people. And I just blessed him up with some Hawaiiana vibes, and I gave him a tea leaf and a rose wrapped inside. Was what it was? Yeah, and I said, bring this to the burn, to bring new life, and wherever you feel guided to put it. So that's the context of that.
Hi. Yeah, and so that was one gift, and then and then Lillian, who I was living with, who opened up her space to me prior to coming out to uh, Burning Man. She gifted me a note and a quartz crystal that was shared in the prayers in our ecstatic dance community on Maui, and so I brought that out and I planted that one inside of the temple. And this has been something for me in the 7 year, as a 7 year burner. Every year I make sure that I plant um, prayers, in both of those spaces, as a, they're called effigies, as a honoring, and to look at this from a timelessness and a quantum dream world, and just like, this is my hope, or this is our hope, really, this is our hope for, again, not, this is hope for Maui, but this is larger than that. And this is, as Lily was sharing, the international response that's taking place right now is really beautiful. We're seeing a vast level of unity taking place in communities coming together, and this is what we want to share in this message, because I would say that's what's not being portrayed in our mainstream media, is how our community is so resilient and responsive. We get some stuff here and there, and hopefully that's starting to shift. Speaking of paradigm shifting, we've had a lot of people, because of the amount of attraction from the rains and the hearsay on what's going on. I mean, people are looking at the sustainability of Burning Man and the judgments and what's going on and all this kind of thing. And meanwhile, we're out here actually innovating what happens in a disaster type of situation, like a rain. Now all of a sudden we know how to handle it, and we have some of the most brilliant people learning how to mitigate that. How do we mitigate the leftovers? Strike. What happens to this playa, and how do we restore this playa and this land here? So Burning Man is got everything. It's the map. It's just like the world, So it's, where's our intention? Where's our focus? Where's our vocation? What is our civic responsibility? And that's a good question for all of us to reflect on. Is how to embody these principles. That's what we're doing here, and what many of us are doing all around the world. As an international community of burners this is a people-run community. Although there's organizations similar to governments out here, the government works for us, not the other way around. And that's something also that is part of what I feel is igniting and activating at a greater level, is that sovereignty initiative, on an international scale, not just a siloed or um, nation level, but more so the inner nation, the one nation. All of us is coming into our sovereignty, our unity, and ultimately love and aloha. So, um, what in that aloha, Lily, like, and what you're seeing with what's necessary is that Kukai Mauna, the standing up, our standing rock, our Mauna Kea, our Maui, you know, um, directive of really holding ground right now. Because I'm seeing and hearing there's a lot of residents of Maui
residents
that
of Maui that
are
are
relocating. Yeah, not
relocating.
just
Yeah, not
relocating on
relocating on
Maui, but even more
Maui,
so
but
are
more so
leaving the
are
island.
leaving the.
And that's something that I
That's
feel
something that I
uh,
feel
it'd be good to
I mean,
stay.
it'd be good to stay.
How do we
How
prevent
do
that?
we
How do we
prevent
keep our
that? How do
people
we keep
knowing
our
that we're
people
here,
knowing
we're
that we're here,
supporting,
we're
to hold
supporting,
strong,
to hold strong,
not move away
not move
because
away because
opens up a
that
space
opens up
for
a
people
space
who
for
don't
people
want
who don't want
I mean,
it, right?
it, right?
in any situation, trying to compare one situation to another situation, or one relationship to another relationship, it's such a multidimensional thing. It's hard to um it presents a challenge to try to compare, the Kukiai Mauna, you know, movement to what we're presented with here on Maui. The difference is very fundamental in that it was blocking something that was to be developed. This is already a development. They've already attacked the water, they've already attacked the homesteads, the Aina Oiwi, where the bones have been planted for thousands of years or whatever. Like, none of that stuff was excavated before they built all those houses there. So, from the indigenous people's perspective, like, yeah, let's reestablish the Ahapua'a. Like, the Ahamoku of that land used to be a like fish pond, and have taro growing, and was a really aligned energetic, where the waters came down from the West Maui Mountains and fed the fish pond that went to the ocean, which feeds the coral reef. And you know a lot of people don't understand, but everything in the older times was designed to be in accordance with the natural flow, the natural laws, to continue to sustain the Aina. And so w- this situation is very interesting. It's definitely activating people to step into their tools and their gifts, and you know um especially like those that dance and chant and sing and pule and kakoo, the vibes. But it's a little different in my personal opinion, because this was like, you know this was a strategy to literally take away everything from the people. This wasn't a fight between, oh, you're gonna put another, alien technology piece up on our aquifer at the top highest mountain that represents, our grandmother and all these things, and we're gonna stop you. This was, nobody had any foresight that this was coming in this way. And the level, this is my personal opinion, and I want to disclaim that, but the level of corruption that is present in the process, like, if this was however you view this, if this was an attack on our people, on the city of Lahaina, then there could have been a way to go about it without there being sacrifice of human lives on the level that it was. And I'm sorry to speak so deeply on these matters that are really intense, but this is what's not being spoken about. And within me and some of my best friends, and this is, you know i'm not I'm not projecting that this is what happened. I'm not making any claims that this is what happened. I'm just sharing within reasonings with me and like one of my best friends who is of this Aina. Like, we sit and we cry together, and we're like, why is nobody talking about the keiki? Why, like, there's so many keikis that were not in school that day, and there's just so many whys. There's so many aspects of the situation that is really hard to come to terms with. And so that's ultimately the major issue, is maintaining our own, you know heart open in this process as the people who have been directly experienced this. And then also going to the source. Like, I wasn't in Lahaina. I didn't run away from the fires. I'm a collective feeler. I can feel it all. My family has been affected. My greater community, like my friends, many people have lost, their have had to watch their children pass over and all these things. But yeah, go to the people who actually ran away from these fires, listen to their stories, have that reference point to really give you an idea of what actually happened. And ultimately, this is the hardest part about it is, like, if you listen to Auntie Haunani Trask, there's one of the downloads that she has is that Hawaii is like a prostitute. The way that the real estate, the military, and the way that the false annexation of Hawaii came through, all of that is the way in which they view this land. So it's very much, there's so many layers. And each person has their own personal perspective and feeling about it and opinions about it. And I really try to stay on the higher frequency in my pule and my prayer about this situation. And this has been a great challenge for me, because it's, you see, like, within the housing community, where people are voicing their concerns and their feelings and stuff, like, people are maintaining neutrality, and they're being cordial and they're being civil with these people. But you know it's like a very double-edged sword. How do you express a sacred boundary of saying enough is enough? Like, we see what's going on and we want positive change, and we're not going to allow anything that isn't in alignment with those who actually lived through this disaster. um our voices matter. The people of this land are going to stand up and do something about it. But it's just kind of a waiting game of staying present and staying on the front line and doing our due diligence each day to try to keep ourselves well watered, and not fall into the grief around it, so that we can maintain you know uh vigilance in how we're going to move forward. And so all of the contributions that come through to Hope for Maui go directly towards getting established more foundational sustainable structures for people who do want to stay here. And we hope that people will have enough resilience to rebuild their inner architecture through this process, and the architecture of this island, to reestablish rightful order to what is possible. We have so much, like, blessings of this land to create sustainable agriculture, to get the waters flowing correctly, to create good schooling, like, for our children, that is in alignment with this new earth philosophy, or a new kind of vibration on this planet. But like with anything, like the tourism industry, you can't just turn it over overnight and people not suffer. So that's like a major issue right now, is the economy in Hawaii, and the local people who have local businesses are needing to sustain themselves. So Mauna Kea was a drop in the bucket of what I personally feel, this is my personal opinion, is the level of coming together that is required in this next stage, in this next wave of this journey, is going to have to be something like Standing Rock and Mauna Kea and the protests that have been going on around the world all together, all at once, not just in Maui. And so, it's interesting, within our Jedi Alliance group, we started, coming together and establishing our foundation and our direction only a month and a half before this happened. And our original directive was for World Peace Day. How can we create a co-supportive, co-creative, energetic for the World Peace Day? That's going to be a global day that people are making an initiative to, bring more awareness of how we need to be more in alignment as human beings, like actually in service to our hosts, Earth, that we are sustained by. And then this happened, and it really pushed all of us into, like, right here and now immediacy of um, having to show up in an even bigger way. And I feel like we've done a really incredible job, behind the scenes of Hope for Maui, behind the scenes of Hungry Heroes Hawaii, and the Aloha Response team. There has been so much personal fortitude and sacrifice and desire to be of service, and people showing up bigger than they ever have, and then you know finding that there's a need to self well, like bring water to your own well. And it's the greatest catalyst for healing I've seen ever, in my lifetime. And sometimes it's it doesn't all present itself at once of what to do, and you just have to kind of be present to it. I'm not sitting with my elders right now on the other side of the island to get a very clear picture of what their initiative is, but I'm guessing that just energetically, from what I can feel, that this is what's building right now on the grassroots level. Is people are being called, the kapunas, the elders, the kahus are coming together, and they're assessing the situation from all those perspectives, and then hopefully coming together in one common directive, and directing the energy of all those that are willing to serve, willing to give, and saying, okay, we're just waiting for you guys to direct us. What I feel on a spiritual plane, ancestral plane, is our ancestors are pissed right now. There's a lot of ancestral energy. They're trying to get our attention. They want us to step up and step in, and do, you know, to step into our gifts, to pick up our gifts and present them to the world as a common, one human family. And that's the bottom line. Is, yes, there's what has happened to Indigenous people over, the thousands of years of the adversary, or whatever you want to call it. But in the end, we all need to find that inner principle connection of where do we meet as a human being to a human being, and how can we come together to create more peace on this planet? Because that's what we need. We don't need to get angrier. We don't need to get, you know, uh, we need to stay vigilant, and just really, like, yes, this is a time that has been spoken about, whether you want to call it Armageddon, or you want to call it, you know, revelations, or whatever, however you perceive it. But it's a time where we are going to be called to come together, and probably not in the way where we just go and do a protest one day and walk the streets and wave our flags. Like, I do see this being, people are going to probably have to step out of their normal realities of, work and job and home and life and whatever, and kind of do similar to what's being happening right where you are, in Burning Man. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of different feelings around the place of, sustainability and whatever and like that. But it is a human experience, an experiment that, you know, shows the resilience of, can we implement these principalities and co-creatively, direct our energy in one common goal to to create something bigger. And that's what I see is going to have to happen. We're going to have to get a lot of people together, willing to step outside of their normal lives and come and kakuo, like kokua the situation, pray together, dance together, feed each other until they hear us. And, coming together and prayer is where it's at, no matter how you do it, no matter what you believe in. It's all one law. We're all governed by the universal laws. And You know, these types of situations are trying to interrupt that, but we just have to step in deeper, you know, step in stronger, and our best varies, you know, but as one person, no man is an island, right? But as a collective community, we can do a lot. And so we are super grateful for all of the contributions, all of the people that bring their hearts, you know, in whatever capacity they can, whether it's through energy, time, space, money, blood, sweat, tears, you know, prayer, networking, time. We're we're here for the integrity of the situation and to listen, you know, to the call that's going to help not let these things happen again. You know, like this is the change, this is the time, this is the catalyst. And I had no idea this would be the way that it would go down, but you gotta just keep riding the waves, I guess, you know, keep diving under and try to hold your line. It's a radical time we're living in, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful opportunity. What really matters to you? What really matters to us? You know, like hopefully this is an ego death for the collective. You know, people get into a place where they're able to really appreciate the fragility and the tenderness of life and breath. You know, there's this thing I read, and I'll leave it on this note, where, you know, if you actually were trying to say God's name in the old times of how it was written, it would just be the breath, because there's no way to actually even speak it. It's just the breath. So Alo is the being and oneness of all things, and Ha is the breath of life. And that is, you know, what we were speaking about in Mauna Kea is Aloha will be the spirit that will change the world, and it will be the initiative to bring peace to the world. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing Aloha be spread in a way that, you know, doesn't necessarily just spring love and light and blessings. It's integration of the shadows, it's the integration of death into life, it's the full capacity and self ability to be present with all of the layers and just, you know, show up to the best that you can. And that's what I pray is when this call comes forward, for everyone to show up in whatever capacity you can. We are so grateful that people are hearing that call. And yeah, more lightness of being. I pray for that too. Give thanks, you guys.
Wow. Thank you, sister. What a wonderful share. There's so much um, nuggets of just wisdom and sacredness in that. Um, I appreciate you bringing up some really big pieces that aren't being spoke about as well, and really giving voice to those. You know, the lack of conversation or news around the keiki. Um, you know, the news around what I would say also to just speak to it. In my humble opinion, this is an attempted genocide, and if this is happening on the soil, even with all of the manipulative and misinformation and wrong history around what the kingdom of Hawaii is, and has been, and what people's impression or perception is of what. Uh, if we just look at it from whatever that stance is it some a place that so many of us love, have some level of connection, to be home away from home, place that we go to heal, to commune, to come in and do a sense of community, to truly experience aloha, you know, and we just took a direct attack on that, you know, the last remains of that is essentially the area of Lahaina is essentially that was the last, kind of like the last stand in some ways, but it's not, and that's what they don't get and understand, and is what this is doing, and it is such a catalyst. Uh, we were talking about so many fires and how many fires have taken place and what it does, and these different things is it brings people together, and in this coming together, we need to be very present again in the truth and reality of things. Uh, there's so much evidence pointing towards what this is that we cannot look a blind way away from it and say that this is just simply a fire. I'm, as a profession in that industry, if you will, firefighting, it was not just a fire. There's a lot going on before, during, and still after that just points to nefarious, dark um, agenda, and I I would say what will come from this is the light, is the truth, uh, is humanity coming fully into its power and its potential. That all of the things that we've been seeing and working on, and the wisdom, the sustainability, right? We talk about what I heard you say too is this, the H.O.P.E and the directive also on how to connect and to be in right relations with our environment internally and externally, but really like that land, that water, to work with the ecosystem, to grow with it, to evolve with it, to steward it in a good way. And these codes are still very present and um, cultivated and curated in the Hawaiian Islands and in most islands, and in many places. Another one place that's been coming up a lot too is Africa burn. We think about these different locations and basically some of the most oppressed places, oppressed nations, um, where we've had some of those traumatic events taking place, uh, are actually where those lotuses are blossoming, if you will. Yeah, where those flowers are growing. And so I'm just grateful to everyone out there. And I want to really share also too in the last piece around this is knowing the magnitude now and getting a little more breath, taking that in, receiving, integrating the truth of what we're sharing. But those of us that are on ground level, on Maui right now and in that rebuilding is really was pointing towards. We have so many team members that have been volunteering day in and day out, um, who are willing to continue to put forth their time and effort because their love is for this, and this is where we want to be, and we need economy and prosperity to be able to do that. And I think, when I look at hope for Maui, it's that because we can give hope in all the different areas, not just in the housing. But because of the diversity of our team members, we're able to really bring hope in so many ways. And you give us hope by contributing, by donating, by, uh, you know, your blood, sweat, tears, hands on deck, resources, and just communicate, with us. Stay connected, stay attuned to this live stream. We're going to continue it for up through the end of September, aiming and pointing towards that September 21st, which is the International Day of Peace. And, let's be in prayer together on that day. Let's build up. Let's see how many. I invite everyone out there. It's a call to action to invite your neighbors, your communities, your families, your ohana, come together on that day. Be in circle, be in ceremony, be in prayer. Pray for peace, pray for love, pray for unity, pray for sovereignty, pray for our ancestors, pray for our keiki, pray for life, on this day. And let's collectively be in that together. And however that looks, because that's the beauty of the diversity of the world. So that is my shout out and message in this last moment here is to look at that date coming in, and let's continue that, because in this attack, this attempted genocide, we're looking, this is another aspect or branch of the military industrial complex. And how many other branches are part of that? How many other ways do we try to have there been attempts to basically annihilate or get rid of a particular tradition or culture that is set in ancestral wisdom and earth-based tradition? And we're there, we're in it. And so we just give thanks, hallelujah, to all of you out there who are watching right now, and look forward to many more coming on the station on this live stream to share their story, especially those Maui residents, locals, indigenous peoples. This is an indigenous revolution, and this is how we are indigenizing technology. A lot of indigenous cultures are not using technology right now for their own reasons, and I totally understand those. And some of us are using the technology for our reasons, and to bless up and to get out the message, and to evolve and up-level each other. Now is the time. This is the place, and we are the ones we've been waiting for. All our relations.
Aloha kako, everyone. Thank you for this space. More blessings to all of you, and just continued resilience. Aloha.
Lily, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. Great to see you. So much love to you. Love to... Yeah! So much love to faith. We have hope. We have faith. We have it all. Hallelujah to you. Peace, love, and bananas. I'll see you soon. Love Dakota and Liberty. If you see Zola. All right, well, that was a wonderful tune in right there. I'm going to sign on off out here and get ready for our next team meeting. This trailer that behind me right now is the Rainbow Warrior trailer. You can see on there we've been cultivating a lot of indigenous, prophetic, all the prophecy, Rainbow Warrior prophecy, Eagle, Condor, Quetzal, Hummingbird, Aloha prophecy, all of these prophecies, right? They're all speaking towards the same thing. So wherever you're tuning in on, know that we are unified by what we've been seeing coming, and those visionaries out there, those soul travelers. It's great to be connected here at a soul level, and may the consciousness of the sun that shines bright on everyone continue to shine, grow, enlighten. The life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. Ole Kavai. Many wachoni. Water is life. So big ups, big thanks to all you Earth Guardians out there, all you water protectors, all you air purifiers, all you fire keepers, all you spiritual beings. This is a spiritual revolution. we already won. Now let's just get to work with one another. Yeah. All right.